Hello, all my beautiful people. It is time once again for another amazing episode of If You Give a Dad a Podcast. So this week I have with me a guy that I have yet to actually see wrestle in person. However, I have seen many things of his on the internet, and he has actually been a viral sensation. So I am excited to be able to present this guy to you. He is Sam Stackhouse. He is a wrestler out of Oklahoma. He also wrestles out of Texas. He's been in many different promotions. One of the bigger promotions that he's been in is Game Changer Wrestling. And I am very excited about having him on this week. And so I can't wait for you guys to hear this episode. I do want to give a brief trigger warning, though. There are a few times where we talk about things that some people might consider gory or, make you squeamish. It's not much, but there is something there, and I did want to just place this here so you guys do know that there are a few times where we talk about some of the death matches that he's had and a few things that have happened in those death matches. But overall, I think that this is a wonderful episode. And for the people who are tuning in just to hear the Sam Stackhouse episode, I hope you enjoy what you hear, and I hope that you stick around and find something else that you like here as well. So, if you guys are as excited as I am, then let's get this show on the road.
If You Give a Dad a Podcast. Hey, Dad.
Get back in your car! Go! Get out of here! You can't be here!
I wasn't about to call you Dad, so...
Seriously?
Just for the work rate, brother.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she said he looked like an old piece of leather.
Wow.
Supernatural, which is by far one of my favorite shows, and I will be talking a lot about Supernatural. I will be quoting Supernatural.
Bro.
I just remember because they also, everybody, whenever they came to the ring, goes, ooh, 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 ooh. What? Okay, before I get started, you ever had a design in mind and you wanted to put it on a shirt or a hat or a cup, but you just didn't know who to go to? Well, come on over to R&L Designs, where they make all of your custom needs come true. They make custom hats, they make custom shirts, they make custom mugs, they even do the tumblers and the glass mugs as well. They do key fobs even. They have great prices, and they have a reasonable turnaround time. If you need anything custom, these are the people that you need to hit up today. You can find them on Facebook, and that is at R&L Designs. You can also find them on Instagram at R&L Designs 19. They have a Facebook page. They have an Instagram page. They update it regularly with new products. You can also message them if you have something in mind. Hit them up today for all of your custom needs. Give them a like, give them a follow. All right, everybody. So today I have with me a man that has been a viral sensation on the internet, and he is known for being in Game Changer Wrestling. He's known for wrestling in Oklahoma. He is actually currently the Loco Wrestling Champion, the Heart of Texas Wrestling Champion, the Unified Wrestling Oklahoma Champion, the World Class Pro Wrestling Interim Champion, and the Insane Hardcore Wrestling Champion at this moment. So we call him Sammy Five Belts, and he is the King of Thicc Style. Sam Stackhouse, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. It is really nice to have you on the show.
I'm happy to be here.
You have been a very busy man, apparently. You have 5 different championships that you got going on right now.
Yeah, it's been a crazy. It's been a crazy about a year and going on a year and a half now, I guess. But it's been a crazy for real. The past year has been absolutely insane. So yeah.
So how
from zero to all of them.
0 to all of them. Hey, but I mean that's progress right there, right?
Oh yeah.
So how exactly did you get into wrestling?
I mean, it's the same. I was a kid, you know. I
Mm-hmm.
fell in love with just the big spectacle of it. I think the very first wrestling I ever saw like on TV was the ECW pay per view. Actually, that was like live.
Oh,
Then
okay.
once I saw that, then I started looking into wrestling. While my brother's been into wrestling since I can remember, so he was really responsible for getting me into it. Because all the reason I watched that pay per view was because I was babysitting my nephews, or I was staying over there because I was only like 9 or 10 or something like that. But I was staying over there with my nephews
Uh-huh.
because he was in Dallas at the pay per view. So I
Oh,
think it was Mania, matter of fact,
oh
like
wow.
Mania 17 or something like that. I think it was
Oh,
whichever
that's a
one was
good
in
one.
Dallas. Yeah, he was there, and I was with my nephews, and that was the first like big pay per view I saw.
Uh-huh.
And then the first like local show I went to was probably 2002, 2003, something
Mm-hmm.
like that. And but we had in Tulsa we had this thing, or we used to have this thing called the Indoor Fun Fair, and it was in
Oh,
like February or March when it was
okay.
cold. So they would put all like we had the big old expo building,
Yeah.
and I think it's like the Quick Trip building or something now.
Mm-hmm.
But they would put like the fair rides inside the building because they had like the big ship and they had like all the little spinny rides, and it was like a fair, basically just a fair inside. And they had a wrestling show there, and that was the first live show I ever went to before I went to WWE show or anything. That was the first live show I ever went to,
That's
and like I don't really remember not liking wrestling. I mean, it's and now especially now it's been my entire life for almost 14 years now. So
well, yeah, you've
I
definitely made
just
a career out of it now, I guess, huh?
a wave of oldness just flowed over me when I said that. 14 years, Jesus, that's crazy.
My kids try to make me feel old all the time, so I get that wave of oldness constantly. Who were some of your main influences, I guess I would say, when you were little, even with wrestling?
I mean, like my first like favorite wrestler was Jeff Hardy,
Yeah.
but then like Jeff Hardy and RVD were my like people,
Yes.
and then but then once I like got older, I started looking into wrestling. Then
Hmm.
obviously I started finding Bam Bam and Vader,
Yeah.
and then Umaga is probably like my number one like favorite wrestler.
Okay.
The more I thought about it, because like I mean, just he was like I don't know, like and now that's why it was so special when I got to wrestle Jacob Fatu because they're
Hmm.
basically the same, and
Yeah.
like it would like I mean just the things that they can do and stuff like and how smooth this every little thing that Umaga did and everything that Jacob Fatu does is just super. Like I said, everything is smooth. Like and it's not even like for their size. I mean, just in general, they're some of the smoothest wrestlers that have ever happened. So
Right.
yeah, Umaga's probably my number one.
Okay. Yeah, I did notice you were very agile for a big guy, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's pretty impressive to see. I was talking to one of my friends, telling him that I was going to have you on the show and everything. I've actually been pretty excited whenever I sent you that message, and you're like, "Sure, man, let's do this." So,
Oh yeah.
and I was kind of showing him some of your stuff, and he was like, "Wow, that's really impressive."
Appreciate that.
So I know you said that you were influenced by Bam Bam and some of the other ones, and your ring
Yeah.
attire actually shows that as well.
Yeah.
With the flames and everything. So that's
Oh,
really cool to see that kind of tip of the hat to those guys.
oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And before that, I wore a red and black singlet, just like Vader used to. So it's been that way pretty much for a while. And when I
Right.
started, when I started out, my first wrestling gear ever was just like black tights, and I didn't have shoes or a shirt on. That's how my first like I think like 6 months or so I wrestled like that. So and because there was actually a whole thing before I made my debut because it was the day of the show and
Hmm.
I didn't have a name and I didn't have anything. So like we were trying to figure this out and at one point I was going to be Samu and I was going to be Samoan, like a white Samoan man
Okay.
or something,
All
and
right.
then that didn't happen. And then I got Stackhouse. It's the nerdiest thing ever. But he asked me, keep in mind, don't judge me. This was 2009, and I was like 18 years old.
Uh-huh.
So uh, he uh, he asked me like what the last name, because he decided we were going to go with Sam,
Uh-huh.
and then he asked me what the last name of the people on my favorite TV show,
Uh-huh.
and my favorite TV show at the time was True Blood, and their last name is
Okay.
Stackhouse. Yeah, and
Yep.
their last name is Stackhouse, and that's how Sam Stackhouse happened. That's the nerdiest thing. That's crazy. But yeah,
Man,
that's how Sam Stackhouse happened.
That's the coolest thing ever, though. It's funny how that stuff comes out, and that you're able to hold on to stuff like that even in your wrestling.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a lot of things that just happen because I also that day I've been billed from there ever since day one is Golden Corral, Texas.
Uh
There's not a Golden Corral, Texas. It's just like the Golden Corral restaurant.
Yeah, yeah.
And but it also blew my mind, or it blows my mind every time over the years. People will come up to me and ask me like, "Oh, where's Golden Corral at?" And back now I'm getting familiar with Texas now, but before I had been to Texas like 3 times in my life, so I would always change it. I'm like, oh, it's like north of, or I'd say south or east or whatever of the whatever town, first town I can think of in Texas. but but yeah, it's not a real place either. But yeah, that's basically how all the best things that I've come up with. If they were just someone said something and I was like, that's funny, I'm just gonna roll with it. And now we're still rolling with it. So
And man, that's some of the gold stuff is that. So I love that. So I know that you've been in some rather, how should I put this, barbaric type matches too. I've seen some of them online, and how do you prepare for something like that, knowing that something's going to happen like that?
Man, it has kind of been a rough year because for like I've always anytime I've ever done like a hardcore match or a death match,
Uh-huh.
even when I was just doing them in Oklahoma, I always go like all out, I don't pull any punches. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it.
Right.
So, but with where I'm at now, like it's a different ball game in like other places because there's stuff that we're just not like legally by the commission and stuff allowed to do here.
Yes.
That you go down in Texas or ever and other places, and it's the Wild West down there. So, and like now you did mention that because I used to have this little rule that I was like I would do like 2 or 3 hardcore matches a year, and they would be like blow off the feuds or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But there was a couple months ago where I bled like 4 weeks in a row.
Oh, wow.
It was because I wrestled Masada,
Uh-huh.
and then the next day, like my cuts from Masada got busted back open, and then the next week I wrestled. That was when I wrestled Kiefer Bartek, and I won the Loco Championship back, and I bled in that match. And then the very next day, I won the World Class Heavyweight, the interim championship in a cage match against Jerry Bostic in Wichita, Kansas. So that was four shows. And I guess that was only 2 weeks. That 4 shows in a row, I was bleeding, and I even said on Saturday when I got to the premiere, I was like, every time I'm here, I'm bleeding. And like there's really just no way to prepare for it because I mean it's gonna suck.
Yeah.
And you just try to not you try to have a death match without any actual death.
Right.
And then it's all good. It's all good. And generally, like I can see like I don't think I'm ever gonna be a person that like a deathmatch guy,
Mm-hmm.
but like I get it. Like
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, like all the wrestlers we're just adrenaline junkies,
Mm-hmm.
and I can see how they could get addicted to doing the death matches because like the adrenaline you get from going out there, and because like you're dealing with inanimate objects, so like anything could happen. Like you have a plan, obviously. Like you think how like the thumbtacks are going to act, or you think I personally have not ventured into glass yet, and I don't really plan on it. But like people don't know how that glass is going to go. Like I've done fire, I've done barbed wire, like I do tacks like all the time because that's my jam. But like and chair, like when you're dealing with doors and tables and all kinds of stuff, like you don't know what's gonna happen when you're fighting out in the crowd. You don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know if you're gonna go for something, someone's gonna be in the way, or just anything can happen. So like you just have to mentally prepare yourself for that more than the match.
Yeah.
Like you have to prepare yourself mentally for not knowing what's gonna happen, and then. But I mean, I kind of enjoy those type of situations because in my normal life, I'm not a fan of like change and like. I like planning out stuff, so like whenever I'm wrestling, I enjoy. That's my time to be reckless and stuff. But I had that death match, and I didn't find out that I was having that death match this past weekend until like 3 days before the show because it was supposed to be a cage match. But then something happened with the cage, so then they changed it to a Texas death match. And I don't know if you're familiar with Dmitry Alexandrov, but he's kind of went from like a I don't even know like how to phrase it, but now he's kind of diving more and more and more into becoming a full-time deathmatch guy. So
okay.
it was like I was in there with someone who's doing this a lot more than me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I say like you just have to mentally prepare yourself for the fact that you have no idea what's going to happen.
Right. Well, and I imagine the pop from the crowd that you get whenever you do stuff like that is probably exhilarating as well.
Oh yeah, it's just that, and then like there's some. I mean, it's going to sound weird to say, and like for people to hear, but there's something about like seeing your own blood and stuff, and just be, like it like awakens like the old like how we used to be cavemen in the thing in the woods and shit. Like I swear it like it's a thing. Like I said, I can see. I don't personally see myself
Hmm.
like ever becoming like a strictly deathmatch guy, but I can see how these guys like a lot of people are like I want to see how they could do that. I could like just the dabbling I've done in it.
Uh-huh.
I can see how that can become a drug sort of thing because it is pretty. You get pretty hyped up. You
Yeah.
get just as hyped up as the crowd does. Sometimes maybe even more.
So I have a question, and this is because I'm fairly new to the death match type of matches and stuff like that. Until recently, the furthest I would go is I'd watch New Japan stuff and WWE and AEW pretty much, and I've recently got into indie wrestling. So there was something that I saw, and I think there's actually a picture of you with Walker Stewart, and you have these things sticking out of your head. What are those?
Yeah, those are just barbecue skewers.
Are they really?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's yeah. 0 out of 10 do not recommend. 0 out of 10. That was that was hands down the worst thing I've ever done. Oh man,
Really?
that was pretty brutal. And it wasn't even like the pain because like obviously it sucked,
Yeah.
but like I've tried to describe it but there was like a crunch when he was like elbowing them into my brain.
Uh huh.
There was like a crunching sound,
Uh huh.
but it wasn't coming from like the outside. Like I could hear it, like my ears were hearing it from like the inside out. If that makes sense,
Oh
which
wow.
probably doesn't. But that sensation freaked.
Uh,
I was not a fan of that one because the
no.
pain obviously. I mean, obviously, like I said, it sucked, but
Hmm.
it was like the sound or like the feeling that I was hearing it from like the inside out type. That was weird. So yeah, that was brutal. That was pretty brutal. Those are no joke. If you see someone doing those and they got cojones because those are brutal.
I've
And
only
that's
seen.
that's something that you literally cannot control what happens with those. Like, I mean, those are just that's you're just hoping and praying. Luckily, I was in there with Masada, and he's like the king of that.
Uh
So
huh.
that's like his thing. So he knew what he was doing. He even had like the smaller ones and not like those big old long ones that people just go to the dollar store and pick up.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's crazy. He at least had shorter ones that weren't like because when he put them in my head, that wasn't even the end
Uh
because I
huh.
still got up and I hit him with a pile driver and did a few other things with them sticking out of my head.
Well, didn't you hit him with a
And then
spear?
yeah, I hit him with a spear. Then I picked him up and give him a pile driver.
Yeah.
And then he hit me. Then he hit me with a leg in the leg with the chair, and then kneed the chair into the gimmicks there. Yeah,
Man.
looking back, not the smartest thing, but it worked out. That's what it is. I mean, it's like that, and that's like I've had death matches with like deathmatch guy like he's like a deathmatch legend. He's
Yeah.
done this in Japan, Australia, all over Europe. Just he's done it everywhere.
Hmm.
And I kept up with him and took him to the limit. It was like a 30-minute death match, and
Wow.
so like it has been like I didn't even realize it until you just pointed out a while ago. It's been pretty. Been a lot of tax picked out of my body this year.
Yeah.
Luckily, we haven't had any lasting damage or anything, so we're good to go.
That's good. How was it wrestling Abyss and getting thrown into the thumbtacks?
But I mean, just like I got lucky enough that I got to wrestle like a whole little like program with Abyss. I think we had 4 matches,
Uh huh.
and like that dude taught me like more at that time. Like at that time, he taught me more than anybody's ever taught me. Like that, he's brilliant. Like I love that man to death. But
Right.
yeah, like that was fantastic because like that was one of when I started getting to TNA. I remember one of the first DVDs that my brother gave me. One of them was like a PWG and it
Uh
had
huh.
like 3 discs in it or whatever.
Right.
But then the other one was TNA. Like when it was some of like the Wednesday pay-per-views or whatever they used to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the first time I saw Abyss. And like so I watched him since I was like 13, 14 years old. And then to be able to like share the ring with him, not only share the ring with him, I mean, I had I'm not to pull back the curtain too much, but I had dinner with him. I got to share some miles with him. I'm just like, we text back and forth still to this day sometimes.
That's
So
cool.
like, just that whole thing with Abyss was fantastic. I can't talk him then, and he's like I talk about this anytime it comes up, anytime I get a chance to tell anybody,
Uh-huh.
because when he got his Impact Hall of Fame speech, he said something that I'll remember forever, because he said that his whole goal was, once he got to the top, was just so he wanted to get to the top so he could reach down and help the other person up with him,
That's
and like
cool.
that's always stuck with me. And then I I I got to know him before he said that, and when he said that, like I believed every single word of it because I had experienced it.
Right.
So, and that's I try to still be that way too. But yeah, Abyss was great to work with. Our last match, kind of, me and my wife have a little running joke, but was it Eli Drake? Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Abyss wrestled Eli Drake on an Impact pay-per-view like
Uh-huh.
the week before our match was supposed to happen. He got hurt, so we had to so we had to turn on, like the last, our big blow off match had to get turned into a 6-man and stuff, because he was pretty limited on what he could do because he got hurt in that match.
Oh
So
wow.
so me and my wife always have a joke every time we see Eli Drake on TV, or his name's like LA Knight now, I guess, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Every time we see him on TV, we boo.
Messed up that last match
Because
for
it
you.
was, well, yeah, because I think I was Abyss's second to last match, because the very next week was Royal Rumble, and that was
Hmm.
his first day at WWE, and that was his first day as a producer at WWE, was Royal Rumble. So he signed with him. He signed with him he had already done it whenever we wrestled, but I was like his second to last match, so that
Yeah.
was pretty cool too.
So he's officially like hung it up. He's not going to wrestle anymore then.
Well, he's been there now for what, three or 4 years now, so
Something like that. Yeah. It
yeah,
just
so I don't know.
it would
I
be
think
cool
that's I
just to
think
see him come out
yeah.
for like a Royal Rumble or something like that.
Oh, for sure. I'd lose my mind. That'd be
I would too.
fantastic.
It was kind of like I think it'd be about as big as it was for me in the last few years. I've had Edge was a big pop for me when he came back,
Oh yeah.
and
Yep.
then when AJ showed up in WWE, I popped really hard for
I,
that.
yeah,
And then I
I
think,
remember where I was.
do you
I
really?
was at truck driving. Yeah, I was at truck driving school. When AJ saw, I was watching, because they had us in the hotels, and truck, and like school was like from like 6 o'clock in the morning to like 6 o'clock in the evening or whatever.
Uh
So
huh.
I was in the hotel room. Watching the pay per view at truck driving school, and AJ showed up. That was
Wow.
pretty dope. And then yeah, Edge, I lost my mind, because I'm still convinced that like Edge is one of the best, like just all around. He might be the best all around wrestler in my opinion,
I,
just
I,
because he has just the little things. Because people like crapped all over that thing where they called it like the world's greatest wrestling match or whatever.
right.
But listen, okay, that match literally had. If you think it, like, if you ask anybody what they think their favorite match is,
Uh huh.
I guarantee you what makes that, or whatever makes that match their favorite match,
Hmm.
was in that match. They
Yes.
did every single thing that you do to get a reaction from somebody, every single thing you do to, like, they did literally everything in that match. So in my opinion, it might have been the greatest like professional wrestling match. Not like obviously technical and stuff, but I mean, like, as far as what professional wrestling is, like the spectacle and everything,
Yeah.
they hit every single thing that should be hit in a professional wrestling match got hit by them. And
And
Edge does it in almost every single one of his matches. So
yeah,
I
I
love that
agree.
dude.
Yeah, him recently, the Canadian Destroyer that he
Yeah,
pulled on
Damian Priest, wasn't it?
Damian Priest is who it was. When
Yeah,
he did
yeah,
that, like I was like, oh my god, because you don't
yeah.
see that anymore, and especially his where he's at in his career, you wouldn't expect that to come
No,
from him, and he's
no.
still pulling out things that make you just pop like that. But I think that Randy Orton and Edge are probably two of the best that we still have going right now.
Oh yeah, for 100%. And I don't even like that. In some circles, that's like a controversial opinion, and I
Yeah.
can't imagine why. I can't imagine why.
Yeah, I've always, even when I didn't like Randy Orton, he makes things look so smooth.
I mean, well, there shouldn't be a soundbite of me saying this guy gonna get me in trouble in the future. But I'm not like a huge Randy Orton fan.
Uh
Like,
huh.
I've never really been.
Yeah.
I was always an Edge guy, so I was never a
Right.
Randy Orton guy. So I was always an Edge guy.
Uh
But I
huh.
mean, but like he hits in every single one of his matches. Like I said, he hits everything that you're supposed to hit when you go out there and do your job as a professional wrestler. He hit everything. He makes you feel exactly what you're supposed to feel at the exact moment you're supposed to feel it.
Right.
And that's the stuff I love.
Yeah. So, talking about that, who are some of the names of wrestlers that you would like to maybe in the future wrestle? What are some of your dream matches that you would like to have?
For forever it was for the last few years it was always Jacob Fatu,
Uh
and
huh.
I've got that one. So
Okay.
now I've been trying to put it out in the universe to wrestle Calvin Tankman. So
Okay.
we're working on that one next. That's my next dream match, I think, right now. As far as like people that are as far as like obtainable dream matches as like that could possibly happen right now.
Right.
Obviously I'd love to wrestle some of the guys in AEW or WWE, but I
Hmm.
mean, hopefully eventually. But I mean, as far as like the guys that are out here now that I've been on shows with and stuff, Calvin Tankman's probably the number one right now.
So, I'd like to give a quick shout out to my newest sponsor for the show, Manscaped. If you're anything like me and you get a little bit nervous when it comes to manscaping or trimming things on your body because you're scared that you might nick something or cut something off, then this is the product for you. I know from experience that this works. They have the skin safe technology on the Lawnmower 4.0, and I don't have to worry about having that problem anymore of hurting myself when I'm trying to manscape. So they have that along with many other products. I also have the Weed Whacker, which is good for getting the hair out of your ears and hair out of your nose. It's just great products. They work really well. The Lawnmower 4.0 is actually waterproof, so if you would prefer to use that in the shower, you can. It works amazing. If you guys want to, you can go to Manscaped and get 20% off plus free shipping if you use the promo code DADPOD20 at manscaped.com. Once again, like I said, go out, get these products. They actually work. I use them and they work amazing. Go to manscaped.com and use the promo code DADPOD20.
Because I will ramble.
There's nothing wrong with a little rambling, man. It's all good. Especially, we're talking about something that we both love. We're talking about wrestling,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's something that brings people together, you know?
Oh, 100%.
So, I mean, you said that you grew up watching it with your brother and everything. For me, it was my uncle who got me
Yep,
into it. So,
yep.
it's something that does bring families together, and it can bring friends together and stuff too. So,
Oh yeah. Yep. I talk about this all the time too on these things. That's my favorite thing about wrestling is it can be anything you need it to be or want it to be because
right.
there's every kind of wrestling. But I
Yeah.
mean, like I was talking about it on this one because I how it might be sound nerdy as hell too, but like I can tell you like the important things that have happened in my life, like those core memories.
Hmm.
I can tell you like what was happening, what the big storyline was, or what I was doing in wrestling, or so I can tell you something that had to do with wrestling
Yeah.
in like big moments in my life. So like, I can't be the only one that wrestling does that for. So
No.
like that shit, it's just a beautiful thing. And like, I mean, I get goosebumps and chills because I was in Mississippi, like about a month ago, and a guy came up to me, like a grown man came up to me, and he was saying that he saw me on the internet, and like I became like a bucket list for him to get to see, and
Hmm.
like he was saying, time I had goosebumps just talking to me and stuff like that, and I was like, and it like I almost like I was about to cry in front of this dude because like I'm 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 used to be normally the dude with goosebumps that's scared to go talk to the person,
Right.
and I still get that way because I mean I've been on shows with people that I never even thought, and I've got to talk to people that I never even thought that I'd be able to without paying to do so, but
Yeah.
I'm getting paid to do it.
Yeah.
So like I'm normally the guy that's like scared to go up to talk to the person or asking questions and stuff like that. So just like being a Mississippi and the realization that I was that for somebody else, like actually absolutely blew my mind. And like I'm about to get emotional talking about it now. Like that dude made my day for the past like however long it's been since then.
That's cool. Yeah. Those moments are, you'll always remember that. And I love
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
crazy. Oh yeah.
So, what are some of your favorite matches that you've had?
Uh, I think my best match was me and Mysterious Q
Okay.
at that first Loco show I wrestled at.
Uh huh.
I think that was the best match I've had like from a like just like a wrestling standpoint. Just chemistry was that like because he didn't get there. I didn't meet him until the show had already started.
Oh wow.
So like we clicked, everything was good. Like I mean, he plus. Well, I mean, it was more him than me because he's fantastic. I imagine he couldn't have a bad match with anybody.
Yeah.
But plus that was the first time. Well, I guess I'll call it about the third time that I was exposed to like a crowd like that. So I'll because the first time I was exposed like the big crowd, that first GCW show I did, which was about a month and a half before this, and that was that was hands down the craziest thing I'd ever been a part of. And then when I did the Matt Cardona match in Vegas, that'll forever be a core memory for me. That was insane.
Yeah.
And that was at that time the most people I'd ever been in front of.
How many were there?
Well, in Vegas, it was probably a fat like 1,100 something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, but when I did the Hammerstein in New York, there was like 3,000 people there.
Oh, cool.
And that was intense. That's probably that's probably got to be up there too. When I didn't have a full match. I was in the thing for like 2 minutes, but I was in New York City in the Hammerstein Ballroom, and like I always talk about being in that room. The most special thing about that is there was easily probably 1,000 people that were living like a lifelong dream that night in that building. Like all the rest, like most of the wrestlers were, because even Matt Cardona, who'd been in WWE for however long, everything, that was his first time ever wrestling there.
Oh, okay.
So
wow.
he was arguably the biggest star on the show besides Moxley. And like that was the first time he'd even ever wrestled there. Like his mom, like his whole family was there.
Oh wow!
Like it was a big. So like I stood outside and I was talking to a guy, and because he was interviewing me for like a GCW Patreon thing or something like that, and I like it kind of like just washed over me. Like I was realizing that like I thought that was just a huge night for me, and I was like living in my brain. But then like I took a step back and I realized that I was like in a room like I said with hundreds, maybe 1,000 people that were like how many fans was it their dream to go to a wrestling show at Hammerstein Ballroom, and much less it be a GCW show. There's some hardcore GCW shows like fans because I recognize some. I know some that came all the way from Texas, and there's some that came even from Vegas all the way up to New York. There's people that I recognize from all the shows.
Yeah.
So like that was probably the most special thing, and there's a whole lot of matches over the years. Like I got to win tag belts with my best friend. That was crazy. I got to beat my daughter for a belt because she got this. Because we were doing this like a 24/7 type thing, and one of the other wrestlers had it. We were just switching it back like a bunch of times that day.
Right.
And he was running from us, and she was sitting there playing, and he like smashed into the wall and fell down, and she went over there and pinned him. So she got the belt, and then later on, I came in, I like tickled her, and then she laid on her back while I was tickling her, and then the ref came in and counted 3, so I beat her for the belt, and she had almost no idea what the heck was happening. She was very confused, but it was awesome. So she even got a belt, so that's pretty cool too. Then I got to have a mixed tag match with my wife.
Oh, cool.
So I mean, like I've got to do a lot of cool things. So that's hard to. My brain can't like I haven't even, and I've been telling people this for the past year. My brain hasn't even processed that. Like I said, that first GCW show, that's been a year and a half ago now, and my brain hasn't even. I haven't even processed that. And since then, I've been to, like I said, the Vegas and the New York, and then I've wrestled guys like Ninja Mac and Jacob Fatu and ASF and Dante. Like I wrestled Jack Evans on the fly a month ago.
Wow.
Because his opponent couldn't make it. But like I mean his opponent made it there, but then something happened, so the show had already started, and I had to go to a tag match, and then right after the tag match, Jack Evans comes out and I wrestled Jack Evans. It was, when I say on the fly, it was on the fly. It was absolutely insane. And so just stuff like that has been just yeah. I've got some huge matches coming up. There was before the Control Your Narrative, I was supposed to be on that big tour, and it got canceled. But there was about to be there was going to be some life altering things happening on there during that, but unfortunately got canceled. But I've got some big matches coming up that haven't been announced yet. I mean, it's absolutely insane.
Man, you're getting me hyped up just talking about all this.
I am.
I mean, it's I can hear your excitement about it, and it's so awesome to hear. I do want to talk about, how did you get into GCW, and I want you to kind of, if you can, talk about that first show that you did with them.
Okay. So it all happened. I was sitting at my computer playing Madden,
Okay.
and I get a message on my phone. I just get a message on Facebook Messenger from somebody named Brett Lauderdale, and he was just like, "Hey," and he said "sup" or "yo" or something like that, and I was like, "Hello," and then just like, "How can I help?" I thought it was just like like a fan that was just saying "what's up" or something like that,
Right.
and then he said that he asked me first. He asked me if I'd heard of Game Changer Wrestling. I was like, "Of course I've heard of Game Changer Wrestling," and he was like, "I'm the promoter of Game Changer Wrestling." And he told me that he had more than a few people send him my clips, and he wanted to work with me when it made sense or whatever. So I like stopped right there because I obviously didn't know that he was the promoter. So then I looked in to make sure it was like the right dude, and I took a lap around my house running. And I told my daughter that we made it. We were about like we were. I had to take. Then I had to calm down. I messaged her back, and I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Anytime." I was like, "Just let me know." And then it just worked out that was and that was in like May, I guess. And then a couple weeks later, like a week later, something like that, they announced the Texas shows that they were coming to Texas. So then I messaged them and I was like, "Hey," I was like, "I don't have anything that weekend. If I can just come down and meet you at the very least, just meet and help. I can help set the ring, help do whatever." And he was like, "Bet," and he was like, "Cool." And then so I went down there, and then so I wasn't booked or anything. Like I was just going to meet. And then I got to Houston, and then I went in there and met him, and then he asked me if I had my gear, and I was like, "Yeah." And then he didn't say anything to me for like another like hour or so. But then he was using my he was using my like hotspot or whatever to download somebody's music.
Yeah.
And so I was standing over there, and then Facade walks in, and he was asking what he was going to be doing tonight or whatever. And then Bray goes, "Probably wrestling this guy," and like points at me. And that's when I found out I was wrestling.
Oh wow!
So I instantly started having a heart attack. So
yeah,
and just absolutely freaking out. And but I mean, like went out there I had a triple threat. It was me and Facade and Aaron Sipes, and we went out there and killed it. Like Shine had a good. I mean, the crowd was like it was like people even tell me to this day that like they were like they felt bad for me. They said when I first came out there because they thought that I was just like they were like, "Oh, this fat loaf." They're like, "This poor guy on the show. They're gonna eat him alive or whatever." And then once I started getting into it, then by the end of the thing, they were counting for the 3 count whenever I won, and we're chanting, "Please come back." And we're chanting, "Please come back." And now every time I go to Houston, like that's basically home now. Like it's insane. Like I was just at that Heart of Texas show where I wrestled Dimitri last week. I was supposed to be the bad guy, but they basically booed Dimitri out of the building because that's just my place,
Yeah.
And then they got it's just like, and plus that's when I first like the fans in Oklahoma are fantastic, but like the fans in Houston are they're just a different breed from the fans anyway.
Right.
The Houston people are crazy. But yeah, and then like I said, and then and it worked out, and then I got the win, which that was freaking crazy. And then Joey Janela and Alley Catch and Brent and like they were watching my match when it happened, and like you can even hear Joey on commentary a couple of times and popping and going crazy and stuff during the match, which was freaking crazy. And then I found out that he was the one that found my clips and sent them to Brett. So shout out to Joey Janela, that's my guy now. But but yeah, and then the next day they were in Dallas, and but I didn't get to wrestle on that show. But, I mean, I got to go hang out and got because when I went down there, I was like, worst case, I get to watch 2 GCW shows for free.
Right.
And I had never been to a GCW. I mean, I'd watched GCW plenty, but I'd never been to a show. So that's what I was looking at. So the next day, I got to sit and watch another GCW show. And I got to I was the bell ringer for the next day show. Okay. Little known fact, that was pretty cool. Okay. But it was cool but I got like, and also a little known fact that I don't like anybody's gonna know if they hear stories like this. But it was cool because like me and Fuego Del Sol were the like the line of getting booked. Like there's like the line. If somebody wouldn't have showed up, we were right there.
Okay, yeah.
And we sat there and watched that first Dallas show together. And then a few months later, when they were in Dallas, me and him were in the show in the same match together. So it was pretty cool.
That's cool.
But yeah, that was that's a little hidden little side fact. But yeah, and then it was about a month later. I was sitting at my computer playing Madden again, and then I get a message saying, "Yo, can you come to Vegas?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" And then, but he didn't tell me. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I just went to Vegas because I knew I was good. I knew I was going to do something.
Right.
And then I didn't find out what it was until when I got there. So
Wow.
it was. And I told him I was glad I didn't know, because I only had like 24 hours to freak out on the inside instead of 2 weeks, or because it was pretty short notice too. And then the same thing, I had this before when I still had to have a real job, which I only have to have a real job before. But I was a truck driver before, but then I picked up this other job after I quit doing the truck driving, and I had to go to work at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I got up. It was like it was a Tuesday. I remember it was my wife's birthday, matter of fact.
Oh.
And I woke up to a message, and it just said Hammerstein, and I was like, I'm sorry. I woke my wife up at 2:30 in the morning for that, because I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, what? And then then I found out I was going to New York City, and
That's
that was
so cool.
I got to go to the Hall of Fame thing they did the night before, rubbing elbows with CM Punk and Chris Hero, and like people that like I said, those are the guys that I thought that I would never meet without paying. But like I was there as like that. My name was on the table. I kept the thing from the table that had my like reserved name thing on it. I still have it, because like that was crazy. But GCW's, and that's what all like everything that's happened now is like that. Just I went from 0 to 100 because I got on that show, and I've had like 1 or 2 weeks off since then.
Wow.
So
well, yeah, I was looking at it was either Cage Match or one of the websites, and you can just see it just steadily increasing the amount of different shows that you've been on from the start, and it was pretty awesome, very impressive.
Yes, I've only not wrestled 1 weekend this entire year so far.
Wow.
And it was because it was a couple weeks ago, and it was me and my daughter were both sick, so
that's
the only weekend I haven't wrestled. Yeah, that's the only weekend I haven't wrestled this year, and I don't have an open weekend for well, I do have some open weekends coming up, but I'm gonna try to fill them. So hopefully we don't have any more open weekends.
It's always good to just stay busy, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when it's my job now.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, you want to stay busy when you're doing that. So I know that the very first video I ever saw of you, I believe it's probably one of your more popular ones. It's the one of you sailing over the top rope onto the guy on the table.
Oh yeah, that one that was actually in like 2019.
Was it? Okay.
And it went like it went like crazy viral. It got like 12 million views on Twitter. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bubba Ray Dudley all retweeted all kinds of craziness. And then it died down. But then I had another one like a moonsault or something. And then that was the clip. That was the clip that started everything. And like that once that happened, that changed. Things started changing after that.
And that was at a Wrestling for a Cause event, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Where did you actually like get your start in wrestling? Like, where did you train at?
I trained at a place called Compound Pro Wrestling, but they stopped running. Well, they changed ownership, and then I started leaving and branching out and stuff. But I mean, it was just a little local place. They ran every weekly shows in the back room of a tiny church over in Tulsa.
Okay.
So I mean, it was a little. It was cool. Like you don't really. I'm always torn on training because like you don't really start learning what wrestling is until you're like out on the road and stuff like that. Like they can teach you how to lock up and take bumps and stuff like that, obviously, but you learn by going and wrestling different people. And I tell people I didn't really start learning what wrestling was until a year and a half ago, because I've wrestled people. Like I said, I've wrestled people that I've never met. That didn't used to happen. Like there's matches. I feel bad saying that loud, but there's matches this year where I was in like 6-man tags and stuff like that. Well, I can't even tell you what my opponents' names were, because I've had a lot of matches this year so far. It's been crazy.
Man, it sounds like it, but it sounds like it's been a great ride.
I wouldn't trade it for anything.
So, do you have anything that maybe you want to like advertise that's coming up for you? Is there anything big that you're excited about that you would like to talk about?
I mean, this week coming up, I got VIP on Friday, and then World Class in Lawton on Saturday. Yeah, there's some. I got the end of next month is going to be huge. The next Loco show, it's
Mm-hmm.
me versus Brian Keith, and that's going to be the big. I mean, that's going to be the biggest match of my life. But the biggest thing I want to talk about is today, or well, yesterday they announced that that Noah Pro Wrestling Noah are doing tryouts in
Oh.
California in November,
Uh-huh.
and I've decided I'm gonna go for that.
Okay.
So that's pretty. Yeah, that's pretty huge because I have friends that are signed there now, and like I was talking to them because yeah, basically I was talking to them and they told me I should go for it and got me pumped up. So like we're gonna go for it. So that's gonna be some content I'm gonna start putting out because I'm gonna try to put together like a little stuff about the training and the financials of doing a trip like that, and then if like whatever happens at the tryout happens, if I get to go to Japan, just like documenting that and stuff like that. So that's something I'm looking forward to. So that should be pretty cool. So people can look forward to that.
And will that be something that you're going to do on your TikTok or something?
Oh yeah, it'll be. I'll put it on TikTok and Facebook and everything.
Okay.
I'll
Yeah,
make sure it gets on all the socials.
right on. I recently just started following your TikTok and everything. I didn't even know that you had one at first, and then I found it and I was like, oh sweet. So now I've
that's
got
what
you on there.
that's what went crazy because I started out like before I did GCW, I had like 200 and something followers. Now like I'm almost to 17,000 now on there.
Oh wow.
And then like Instagram's going crazy. Like then that's another thing people can do. Like now it's absolutely crazy like the support and stuff that you get now. But now like literally every single piece of support that people can give me like on Facebook and stuff like that, it actually is like it's like real life support because I just got the Sam Stackhouse page is now is monetized. My personal page or my other page is monetized. It's like I get paid on Facebook, so when people share my stuff, the views and all that stuff, that helps out. And
That's
that
cool.
like it's just but people like that's been one thing I can't even talk about enough the past year. Well, I mean the past 14 years really because it's I've always had this like connection with fans no matter where I go, but it's just been now it's just been bigger because now I'm going different places and meeting new fans and stuff. But it's still everywhere I go, I have a connection with the people there, and just like I said, it's just because wrestling. I think that wrestling fans can tell when you're just a wrestler when you're not a fan of wrestling. And I'm
Right.
a wrestler that I'm a wrestling fan that just happens to get to do the thing too because I consume more wrestling during the week than anything. Like I can't tell you anything about the Stranger Things TVs or the Game of Thrones or no. I can't tell you about any of this. I just recently like 6 months ago completely watched Breaking Bad, and that show was over like 10 years ago.
I still
But
haven't finished
it was
it.
fantastic. Oh, it was fantastic. But like I watch more wrestling than anything.
Yeah.
So I'm a like I said I'm just a big fanboy that gets to live his dream in the ring every week, and it's incredible. And like I love wrestling so much because I always tell this too. Like wrestling has literally given me every single thing that like is the best in my life.
Yeah.
Like I only have one friend that isn't from wrestling, and he's been my friend since I got my first job when I was like 15 and a half, and he's been my friend since then.
Right on.
And every other friend I have is from wrestling. I met my wife through wrestling, so if it was wrestling, I would have her or my daughter. My best
Okay.
friend, who like he was Drake Gallo's best man at my wedding. I was the best man at his wedding twice.
Uh-huh.
So it was to the same lady. One of the weddings used to be a secret, but now it's not a secret because we went to Vegas.
Okay. All right.
We went to Vegas. It was pretty fun. But it was great because they got married like on their year anniversary.
Oh,
So.
that's cool.
But
They
or
got
like
to
I
keep
mean like
their
on their
anniversary date.
they got their because they got married in front of people. I
Yeah.
should say on their actual 1 year anniversary. But
That's
and
cool.
they was like a little like a place out in the woods. It was pretty neat.
That's
But I mean I met him. He's the godfather to our daughter, and I'm the godfather to his kid.
That's cool.
Like real things, like but yeah, like it's everything. And all my friends now, like one of my best buddies, Tony, buddy Jay, like all my friends are all wrestling. All like I said, my family. I wouldn't have anything. I wish I probably would. I wouldn't say I wouldn't have anything, but because that sounds terrible to say. But like all the good things in my life are brought to me by wrestling. So
That's cool.
and like I said, some of these fans that I've met over the past year have just been like life changing to me. Like the fan art that I've gotten so far,
Mhm.
the like people have like went out and like paid money to print out pictures and stuff that we took together to give to me at shows and stuff.
That's
And
cool.
then like the people buying the merch and then when I started the sticker business
Uh-huh.
and like the support from the other wrestlers and that has been absolutely crazy.
Yeah,
So
I've noticed
it's just
that the
it's been
the stickers
crazy.
are crazy. You have all kinds
Yeah,
of them.
yeah.
So
Oh yeah. It's been, that's been a blessing. Like I mean, So I get to do something that thousands of people talk about doing and dream about doing, and I used to be one of those people. But I mean, I get to like take care of my family with like pure wrestling,
that's
and
cool.
like that's my goal. Like I just want to be able to do this because I've never been like I'm not a big money guy. Like I don't need a bunch of crap, like a bunch of things. I'm pretty easy. Like I just wanted to not my goal because I mean I have the same backstory as a lot of people have. I grew up super poor, like all that jazz. But
Hmm.
so I just don't want like my goal is to never to not have to worry about money. But
Yeah.
I don't need a bunch of money sitting in a bank account somewhere, and I don't need a bunch of fame. Like I'm not a car guy.
Yeah.
I'm not a big house. I'm not a big house guy.
Yeah.
Like if I have a room for like if I can get like a house big enough to have a room for my stuff,
Uh-huh.
then I'm good to go. So, but the support from the people has just been absolutely crazy. Like, and I've gotten to do a bunch of these interviews and stuff. So I appreciate the opportunity for you having me on here to be able to talk to more people and share my story and stuff like that and get it out there.
Yeah.
Because the more people hear it, the more people, it's just it's been like a snowball because like there's been people who have messaged me from places that I would not have never even known how they would know who I was or anything like that. And it's just been the word of mouth and like I said, the support of people sharing everything, and it's just been fantastic. So anybody listening to this, thank you. If you support me, even if you hadn't, just thank you for loving wrestling. If you support wrestling, by that you support me. So thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. So if people want to follow you, how can they do that?
That's the Sam Stackhouse on pretty much everything TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. I'm on all of it. TheSamStackhouse.com is an actual thing now. So
Awesome.
that funny story that was actually my Father's Day present from my wife.
Oh, cool.
She got me a website. So and pretty soon that's getting worked on now. I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm
Uh-huh.
slowly building that thing. But I mean, it's live. I've got some of my there's matches on there.
Uh-huh.
Pretty soon all the merch and stuff will be available on there. And then I got a buddy who plugged for Oklahoma. There's oklafan.com. If you
Mm-hmm.
ever want to know the history of Sam Stackhouse, you can look at oklafan.com because it has every single match, every single title, every single like facts about me, every single person I've ever tagged with, every promotion I've ever worked for, and anybody in Oklahoma, it has all that for them, and that's something that a lot of Oklahoma people take for granted because no other states have that.
Right.
Like any match that I've ever had in Oklahoma, any show I've ever been on, any show that's ever happened,
Yeah.
like they keep track of the WWE results, they keep track of every results,
Yeah.
and there's articles on there, but all that to say that I'm going to have a monthly, maybe bi-weekly article that's going to be posted on there by the CM Burnham who runs Oklafan,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll recap what I've did the previous month, and it'll tell everybody what I've got coming up. If there's anything I want anybody to know about anything like that, it's going to be all up there. And like I said, we're in the morning. I'm starting this journey to try to go to Japan because that's been a dream of mine since I got into wrestling,
Yeah.
and that's where all the big boys they were big in Japan before they were big here. Vader,
Right.
Bam Bam, all those guys went over and blew up in Japan, and then they came here and
Yeah.
got to make a living.
Yeah.
So that's going to start. And like I said, that'll be up on the website and on Instagram, TikTok. That'll be up on all that stuff. So I'll keep everybody updated on that. So.
Awesome. Yeah, I've actually been keeping up with MJ's posts about
Oh
being
yeah,
in Japan. So yeah, he's
yeah,
lucky being there
yeah.
right now.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. They couldn't have picked a better ref because he's good people.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's actually one I had on 2 weeks ago on my show,
Nice.
and yeah, he was a lot of fun to talk to.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, we're gonna be whenever they get back stateside. We're supposed to be little GCW road buddies. So hopefully I'll have some GCW dates to announce soon too. So
Okay, well that'll be cool.
that's
I'll
gonna be
definitely
pretty.
be
Oh
looking
yeah,
out for that.
yes sir.
All right, man. Well, it has been wonderful talking to you. I am definitely hyped about Sam Stackhouse and seeing where you're going to go next because it sounds like your trajectory is just up.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I got another title match in a couple weeks too, so it could be Sammy Six Belts pretty soon. Who knows?
Sammy Six Belts, I love it. I can't wait to
Yes,
see
sir.
it.
Well, yeah, like I said, thanks for having me on. I had a great time talking. Like I can talk about wrestling for however long you need me to.
No, I'm the same way, man. But thank you so much for coming on here. And
Yes, sir.
this has been a real treat. I've been looking forward to this.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, I will talk to you later.
Yes, sir.
All right.
You are invited to join the ghosts, the banshees, the fairies, and demons run amok. We're all coming to Oktoberpod's Halloween potluck. You'll enjoy this ghastly crew if your blood doesn't end up in the stew. We'll be baking a cake and raising some hell. Beware, for heaven's sake, because we've got ghost stories to tell at Oktoberpod's Halloween potluck. Coming to YouTube on Tuesday, October 11th. Get a special preview by listening to our companion podcast, Oktoberpod AM, wherever you listen to podcasts. Or find all our links at oktoberpodvhs.com. Oktoberpod, retro horror for bold individualists.
Oh, yeah. My name is Cat's Pajamas, aka Cat's PJs. I'm the host of a show called Creative Podcasts, where we talk all things music, musicianship, music, influences, music backstories, the origins, where they come from, what do they do, what are they doing now. So if you're into music, if you listen to music, come on over to Creator Podcast, where all the cool cats are hanging, baby. We'll talk about your favorite artists, your favorite songs, conspiracies to funny things, this, that, finger snaps, hand claps, all genres of music. Eclectic, electric, and nothing like you'd expected. So come on over to Creator Podcast and tune in, baby. I'll see you there.
All right, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed that episode with Sam Stackhouse. He was really cool to talk to, and I had a lot in common with him. I feel like me and him could have a lot of long conversations when it comes to wrestling, because we're a lot alike when it comes to that. So, I really do hope that you guys enjoyed that one. So next week I have with me Red James. He is a wrestler out of Oklahoma. I have got to see him at a Crown Championship show. He is wonderful at what he does, and I am very excited to be having him on next week. The week following that, I have Charlie Berry. He is a country music artist, and it's the same people who brought me Presley Tennant have been gracious enough to let me have him come on the show to do an interview as well, kind of talk about some of his music that's coming out. My wife and I have listened to quite a bit of his music, so I'm actually pretty stoked about having this fella on. I also have a special episode coming out that week, and that is with the Mullet Daddy himself, Johnny Cove. He is going to be on the show. We are doing a special episode. There is a Crown Championship show that is coming up on October 22nd, and they are having a mullet contest at that show. You might have heard us talk about it whenever Chris Allred was on the podcast. Well, I am going to have a special episode with the Mullet Daddy himself, Johnny Cove, to kind of get everybody in the mullet spirit for that show that is coming up that weekend. Then the week after that, I have on with me Richard Pierce. He is out of Wrestling for a Cause. Some of you know him, and for those that don't, we're going to get to know him pretty well, I think, on that episode. I am excited to have him on. I've got some great episodes that are coming up. I've got some serious episodes that are coming up. If you guys want to drop a line to me and tell me what you think about the show, you can do that. If you have questions for me, you can do that as well. I have an email address, and the email address is giveadatapodcast@gmail.com. If you want to, you can also follow me on all the social medias. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on Snapchat. You can find me in all kinds of places. If you Google If You Give a Data Podcast, I am about the first 15 results, I believe, that shows up on there. You can find my podcast anywhere. You can find it just by talking to your Echo Dot. You can tell it, hey, I want to listen to the newest episode of If You Give a Data Podcast, and it'll come up on there as well. But if you do want to follow me on the social medias, you can do so. I am on Facebook, and that's at IYGADAP, or you can just search for If You Give a Data Podcast. I am also on Instagram, and that's at Give a Data Podcast. You can also follow me on Twitter, and that's at DadPodcast11. I update those pretty regularly to let you guys know what's going on with the show. As I'm recording this, I am getting stoked and excited because this weekend I'm actually going to a Pay It Back show for Crown Championship. They are doing a show in West Fork, Arkansas, and it's a free show. They've got some really cool people going to be on there. Justin Lee is actually going to be facing Alex Royal in the main event. There's also a battle royal that will be at this show, so I'm pretty excited about it. So if you're hearing this and you would like to go to that show, you can always go to the crownprotickets.com to get your tickets there for it as well. I'm excited about it. I can't wait to go. This is going to be the first show that my wife has actually been to. And there's actually a funny story. When we were kind of telling her about what was going on and that we were going to this show, the one thing that she asked me was, she said, is the guy that broke his nose going to be there? Well, she's talking about Justin Lee. When I went to my first Crown Championship show, he broke his nose in one of the matches. And so, she knew who that was. And so he is in the main event. And I sent him a message and told him about it. And he was like, I'm going to be there with most of my nose. So we are excited to be able to go to that show. It's a family-friendly show, and it'll be pretty awesome. And that is on October 8th. I don't think I mentioned that a minute ago, but that's Saturday, October 8th. So if you're hearing this before Saturday, October 8th, and you want to go to that show, look that up at crownprotickets.com. So yeah, I've got some great things that are coming up. I've got some more announcements that will be coming out soon. I can't wait to share with you guys. I am excited for what is happening with this podcast, and I'm excited to see what the future holds. So, yeah, I am going to bring this show to an end. I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Bye. If you enjoyed our show, come back next week. Come on, guys. You know you want to come back. Might get some laughs.
Bro.